Look what you did to him!
Number 20. Esther is actually an adult woman. Orphan. We wouldn't be at all surprised if this 2009 horror movie turned a lot of prospective parents off the idea of adoption, especially when you consider the terrifying twist.
Everything about her could be a lie. Everything.
Well, you have her passport, her birth certificate, school records, medical records.
Papers from halfway around the world.
What is this? It's a piece of paper.
After Kate and John adopt a young girl named Esther, the two struggle to get their new family member to open up. Tensions mount as Esther manipulates her new family, with only Kate suspecting something's wrong.
It causes proportional dwarfism. She only looks like a child. According to our records, Lena Klammer was born in 1976. She's 33 years old.
In a truly shocking moment, Kate learns too late that Esther, or perhaps we should say Lena, is really a 33-year-old woman who suffers from a medical disorder that stunts her growth. Not only that, but Lena is a cold-blooded killer.
Why was she at your hospital?
She's dangerously ill, violent. She killed 7 people that we know of.
Suddenly, the kid from Problem Child doesn't look so bad. Number 19. Tom was the Invisible Man all along. Or was he? The Invisible Man. Lee Winnell reinvented one of Universal's classic horror characters for the modern era in this 2020 film.
What is happening?
After barely escaping the clutches of her cruel tech mogul partner Adrian, protagonist Cecilia begins to believe that her ex is using cutting-edge invisibility technology to stalk her.
If you fight me, I won't ever hurt you. I'll find someone you love and hurt them instead.
Her terrifying suspicion proves correct, but with a twist. After the unseen assailant is shot and unmasked, he's revealed to actually be Adrian's brother Tom. But even this revelation is thrown into doubt, with Cecilia insisting this is just another facet of Adrian's twisted plot.
That it was you, not your brother.
Just goes to show that you cannot always believe what you see, or don't see in this case. Number 18, Marie Unmasked, High Tension. What begins as a quiet weekend of studying quickly turns nightmarish in this French horror thriller. And if the shocking violence doesn't leave an impression, the twist definitely will.
Bon, dans la cuisine! Alex est dead, je peux rien faire toute seule, tu comprends?
The story follows 2 college girls, Marie and Alex, who stay with Alex's parents in their secluded home to study. But a sadistic killer arrives on their doorstep, taking out Alex's parents and kidnapping her. It's seemingly up to Marie to save Alex from certain death, until we learn that almost the entire scenario has been a fantasy playing out in Marie's head, and she's been the one maiming her way through numerous victims.
Vous êtes sûr qu'elle me voit pas?
It's a shame, because besides the whole being the killer part, she was a great protagonist. Number 17. The Old Couple is Possessed, The Skeleton Key. Being a live-in nurse is a demanding and often thankless job under the best of circumstances. Never mind when there are paranormal shenanigans going on.
She says you see him in the mirrors.
After being taken on to care for an elderly man living with the after effects of a stroke, Nurse Caroline begins to suspect the man's wife Violet of foul play.
I don't believe.
This comes after Caroline finds a secret room filled with the tools of hoodoo magic in the attic, which is generally a red flag that something hinky's going on. But rather than simply a practitioner of hoodoo, Violet is revealed to be possessed by the spirit of a hoodoo magician from nearly 100 years prior.
It's harder every time. They just don't believe like they used to. Gotta get them riled up.
Yep, we'd quit too. Number 16. It's all staged. April Fool's Day. A typical twist in a horror movie involves the identity of the killer or killers. But the twist in this 80s slasher takes a different route by revealing there isn't a killer at all.
Let's go.
Things seem par for the course as far as slasher movies go, when the bodies begin to pile up at a fancy party thrown by a group of old college friends. But imagine the audience's surprise when it turns out the events of the movie were just an incredibly elaborate rehearsal for a murder mystery night, and nobody was ever in any danger.
What's this all about? And don't anyone say April Fools again, or I'll rip them apart.
How's that for a twist? This slasher movie wasn't a slasher movie at all. Number 15. The Ancient Ones, The Cabin in the Woods. After their cabin trip is spoiled by some pesky zombies, friends Marty and Dana discover a massive facility full of monsters beneath the cabin. And after a surprise appearance by Sigourney Weaver herself, the pair learns the deeper truth, that the events of the film were an elaborate ritual to appease a group of elder gods who want nothing more than to see groups of teenagers meet their messy demise again and again.
They want to see us punished.
Punished for what?
For being young?
You don't need a film degree to figure out that The Ancient One's craving for routine carnage is a somewhat scathing commentary on horror audiences, crystallizing the film's deconstruction of tired horror tropes and imploring filmmakers to try something new.
Maybe it's time for a change.
Number 14. Those aren't the real grandparents. The Visit. Director M. Night Shyamalan's reputation as the king of the twist ending is somewhat well-deserved, as most of his movies contain at least one shocking twist.
We made a decision. Just you go. We're having a great time.
Yeah.
Heck, this isn't even the only movie of his on this very list. The twists can get more than a little stale, but there's just something about this one that gives us the creeps.
Nana? Nana, you okay?
Good afternoon.
After an odd yet seemingly innocent weekend at their grandparents', teens Becca and Tyler receive a shocking revelation that those aren't their grandparents.
Where are Nana and Pop-Up? You've been staying with those people the whole time?
This reveal comes hot on the heels of a number of strange occurrences the pair had experienced, suddenly ratcheting up the already high tension to stratospheric levels. Number 13. Red Is Adelaide. Us. Jordan Peele's electrifying follow-up to Get Out did not disappoint, mixing great horror movie scares with a powerful undercurrent of social commentary even before you get to the shocking final reveal.
They can't hurt you. You understand?
After narrowly escaping her tethered doppelganger with her life and family intact, Mother Adelaide seems to be in the clear.
Just want my little girl back.
Except the audience is clued in via flashback that the woman we've been following for the whole film is the tethered. Adelaide and her tethered were switched during childhood, meaning the raspy-voiced Red was actually the original, out for revenge after being exiled below ground. It's a twist that casts the entire movie in a new light, just like a great twist always does. Number 12. Samara is now free. The Ring. We're betting that up until this infamous moment in the 2002 remake of the Japanese horror sensation, the protagonists were patting themselves on the back.
You weren't supposed to help her.
It's okay now. She's not gonna hurt you.
After all, it's not every day you get to put the vengeful spirit of a dead child to rest, but you forgot that you made a copy, didn't you? Now your ex is dead and you have to continue passing the curse on in order to save your child. Great job. In all seriousness, the twist that the terrifying Samara was not put to rest by uncovering her grave and will continue to wreak vengeance on the living is still one of our favorites. And we still can't see TV static without shuddering. Number 11. The call is coming from inside the house. Black Christmas.
A phone company's on the other line, sir. They say they got a trace on this one.
Yeah, let's have it.
In this 1970s Canadian slasher flick, the residents of a sorority house are plagued by a string of obscene and disturbing phone calls. But things just get worse when several of the residents are found dead, and the killer is behind the obscene calls. In the film's most iconic scene, a telephone company employee frantically traces the location of the mysterious caller, and eventually discovers that the calls are coming from a second line, inside the sorority house.
For Christ's sakes, Nash, you got it wrong. That's where the calls are going into. That's where they're coming from, too, sir.
It's a terrifying reveal, one that kicks the tension in the film into overdrive, with the revelation that protagonist Jess is far from safe despite being indoors and under police watch.
Just tell her to put down the phone and walk straight out the front door.
Number 10. The coagula procedure. Get Out. Once again, Jordan Peele manages to pull off a twist that's not only terrifying on the surface, but casts the entire film up to that point in a new light.
I know what you're thinking.
What?
Come on, I get it. White family, black servants. It's a total cliche.
After meeting his girlfriend's parents for the first time, Chris begins to suspect something is amiss with the seemingly friendly couple.
Phase 1 was the hypnotism. That's how they sedate you. Phase 2 is this. Mental preparation.
Following a series of unnerving encounters with the family, Chris is hypnotized and wakes up bound to a chair, a videotape informing him of his fate, to have his brain removed so that a rich old white person can have his body instead.
So you won't be gone. Not completely. A sliver of you will still be in there somewhere.
This twist, itself a commentary on how black bodies and physicality are commodified by seemingly well-meaning white people, cemented Peele and the film as horror royalty. Number 9. It's all in the killer's head. Identity.
Who am I speaking to? Look at me. Who am I speaking to right now?
In this horror/thriller from Logan director James Mangold, a group of strangers find themselves stranded in a secluded motel and stalked by a mysterious killer. But this isn't your run-of-the-mill slasher movie. It's revealed late in the film that almost everything we've been seeing has been taking place inside the mind of a convicted serial killer.
Why are you telling me this? Because you, Edward, are one of his personalities.
The victims are actually the killer's multiple personalities, and they're being killed off as part of his treatment. The "it was all a dream" or hallucination twist is honestly a little played out, but this version offers an admittedly fresh spin on the well-worn idea, to great effect.
Where is my faith?
Number 8. Mrs. Voorhees Is the Killer. Friday the 13th.
How are you? Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, an old friend of the Christies.
The machete-wielding, goalie mask-wearing Jason Voorhees is without a doubt one of the biggest slasher icons. But as horror aficionados are fond of pointing out, he wasn't the primary villain in the first film in the Friday the 13th series.
Jason should have been watched every minute.
After a number of fellow camp counselors are brutally murdered, the film's protagonist Alice discovers that the killer is in fact Mrs. Voorhees, the mother of a deformed boy who drowned while the counselors were, shall we say, distracted.
They were making love while that young boy drowned.
Needless to say, the revelation that the seemingly kindly old lady in a sweater is a crazed killer doesn't do much to make Alice's day better.
Look what you did to him!
Number 7. The Girl Isn't Missing. The Wicker Man.
You, Sergeant, are the right kind of adult.
Before it was remade with Nicolas Cage and turned into an internet meme, this 1973 horror film was a darling of British horror cinema. The film begins when a police detective arrives at a small town on a secluded island after a local girl goes missing. But it quickly becomes clear that something is terribly wrong, and that the villagers are part of a dangerous pagan cult.
You came here to find Rowan Morrison, but it is we who have found you and brought you here, and control your every thought and action since you arrived.
The detective suspects the girl might have been taken as a human sacrifice, but it's worse. The girl was never kidnapped, and it was all a ploy to lure him to the island to serve as the sacrifice himself.
No! Think! Just think what you're doing! Think what you're doing! Think!
Number 6. Jigsaw is the dead body in the bathroom. Saw.
You're gonna be alright. You're just wounded in the shoulder.
This infamous horror flick not only kicked off an entire franchise, but arguably started a whole new subgenre. While the sequels went on to more gruesome and elaborate gore, the first one keeps it fairly simple. Two men find themselves chained in a bathroom, with a corpse between them and a hacksaw each. The only way either of them can escape is to take that hacksaw to their own ankle. After much bloodshed, it's revealed that Jigsaw, the mysterious killer who orchestrated the whole thing, has been in the room the whole time, posing as the corpse lying between his two unlucky victims. Shocking, effective, and oh so twisted.
Game over!
Number 5. The family are ghosts. The Others.
Don't speak to them! Why? They're dead!
This spooky, atmospheric horror gem stars a woman named Grace and her two children, who live in a secluded mansion following World War II. As anyone might if they lived in a house this creepy looking, Grace begins to suspect that her home is haunted. Turns out she's right, but not in the way she expected. After a series of terrifying encounters with what seem to be spirits, it's revealed that Grace and her children are the ghosts haunting the house, and the visions they've been seeing are the new residents.
Children, if you're dead, why do you remain in this house?
It's a clever inversion of the classic haunted house scenario that caught most cinema-goers completely by surprise.
What happened?
They made contact.
Number 4. What David needlessly does to his group, The Mist. Things look about as grim as they can possibly get for painter David Drayton and his family.
Guys, let's get out of here now.
After a strange mist envelops their sleepy New England town, monsters begin emerging from the strange fog and exterminating everyone they can get their tentacles, pincers, and claws on. David and his son flee in their car along with some other survivors in a desperate bid for safety.
For once.
There's 5 of us.
Eventually, the car runs out of gas, leaving David to shoot his friends and son to keep them from a grislier fate. With not enough bullets to go round, David leaves the car to be eaten by the monsters, only to find the military has arrived to save the day. Talk about too little too late. Number 3, Stu and Billy are the killers. Scream.
Surprise, Sydney.
This trend-setting slasher movie revitalized the genre for a new generation by injecting a dose of self-aware meta-commentary to liven things up.
What's the matter, Sydney? You look like you've seen a ghost.
This mainly takes the form of the teenage characters, who recognize that the mysterious killer stalking them is following the traditional rules of slasher films. Namely stuff like if you have sex, do drugs, or say, "I'll be right back," you'll be the next one to die. But rather than just two horror movie fans familiar with the tropes of the genre, the characters of Billy and Stu turn out to be the killers themselves, making the horror movie awareness of the Ghostface killer suddenly make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, we put her out of her misery, because let's face it, Sydney, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
Number 2, Malcolm Crowe is a ghost, The Sixth Sense.
I think I can go now.
The twist, so infamous it started an entire meme, remains a fan favorite, even if it turned a promising new director into the twist ending guy. The film tells the story of a young boy with the ability to see ghosts, which obviously leads to a near non-stop parade of terrifying encounters with the unquiet dead. Things look like they're getting better when he meets a child psychologist determined to help the boy, to make amends for a previous failure. But in the end, it's famously revealed that Bruce Willis's Dr. Crowe is a ghost himself, having died after the film's opening scene. For cinema-goers in 1999, it was one blown mind after another.
You were never second. Ever.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, but I love movie twists. I'm the type of person who generally does not go looking for them, so I rarely see them coming. So I love that feeling of, oh! Number 1 is the OG in that department for so many reasons. So let's look through some honorable mentions, and then we'll name our top horror movie plot twist. Simone was trapped and died behind the walls. The orphanage.
Mamá, ¿me puedo despertar?
Johnny is Harry. Angel Heart.
And I didn't kill Margaret. And I didn't kill Cruz Mark. I didn't kill no one.
I'm afraid you did, Johnny.
My name's not Johnny.
All killed by your own hand. Guided by me, naturally.
Mary was dead all along. Carnival of Souls. Sarah's escape was a hallucination. The Descent. Crispin, Z, and Felix planned the whole thing. You're next.
You kill me, you get nothing. You pull this off, I'll give you 400,000, okay?
Number 1, Norman Bates is the killer. Psycho.
Mrs. Bates.
before the shocking reveal at the film's climax. Alfred Hitchcock's horror opus already had audiences scared out of their minds. But that ending just made things worse. After watching numerous characters seemingly die at the hands of the apparently demented Mrs. Bates, audiences were stunned to learn that the killer was, in fact, her soft-spoken son Norman, who had preserved his dead mother's body and taken on her identity. Even decades after the film's release, and subsequent enshrinement in popular culture, the reveal at the end of this legendary film remains the most shocking and memorable twist ending in the history of horror cinema. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.